Okay, welcome everybody to this webinar on 2018 Business Accelerator, uh, where we are looking to provide you with more clients, profit, and get your business unstuck. And so looking forward to doing this webinar with you. We are going to have three other panelists here, and I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves in a couple of minutes here, but wanted to again welcome you all. And again, if you have any questions as we proceed, please feel free to type those questions into the chat box. The chat box is located in the black, it should be a black bar navigation menu at the bottom of your screen. So make sure you type in questions there. And we'll do our best to answer all these questions. We have a couple of questions that some of you have already emailed to me personally, and I'll do my best to answer those questions as well. But again, welcome everybody. And what I'm going to do is actually going to mute everyone just so there are no background noises. And then the panelists, if you want to pipe in at any point, just raise your hand or unmute yourself, okay? All right, great. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sunil Bhaskaran. I'm the founder of what's called the Global Meetup Mastermind, and I'll explain what that is in a few minutes here as well. I have about 80,000 plus, it's probably way more than this by now, business owners and professionals just in the Bay Area in my Meetup organizations. I've been a business mentor, owner, author, and speaker since 1991. And one other thing you want to know about me is I was a successful entrant to what's called a Shark Tank for experts, but this very idea of using Meetup and LinkedIn to very innovatively but concretely produce a large audience and actually provide business, substantial business for you. My vision is to create 100 million joyful and successful entrepreneurs by the end of 2027. And I take that pretty seriously. And I want you to be part of that group of 100 million joyful and successful entrepreneurs by 2027. And I see what I'm going to teach here today as being an access to a concrete access to making that real. Okay, again, if you have any questions at any point, please feel free to type into the chat box. And the chat box, again, is on the navigation menu for the Zoom system. It's a black bar, usually at the bottom of your screen. If you click on the more, there's a selection there. It says more. You can then select the chat and then type in your questions. Okay, great. All right, and just a little bit more about me, and I promise you we'll get into content and questions here. Okay. So what I provide for people, there are two things I provide. One is I provide what's called marketing done for you services, where I actually do all the heavy lifting. That's me and my team. We take over the function of generating an audience for you, both on Meetup and other social media platforms, basically take that time away from you so that you can devote it to other things that you may be better at or more focused in doing. The second thing I do is what's called the Global Meetup Mastermind. And this is way more than just about Meetup. It's grown to be more about creating large audiences and collaborations. So in this mastermind, I actually collaborate with my clients. You'll see some of them on my panel as well today, where I actually also promote them to my 80,000 people and more. We help them build audiences via several channels. So it's not just Meetup, but also on LinkedIn and Alignable and other media platforms. We also connect our clients with other collaborators that I have amassed since 1991. And there's hand-holding, one-on-one service to make sure that you get your Meetup set up correctly. A lot of people don't have their Meetup set up correctly, and that's why they're not getting results. We train you in this program also to use Meetup, LinkedIn, and other platforms together to create huge audiences. So that's a nutshell, that's what I do. Okay. So what are we going to cover on this interactive webinar? The first thing is briefly, I'm going to quickly do this. So pardon me if I go too fast, but you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. but I'll give a brief overview what is Meetup and how it can work for you in your business or in your audience building. Then I'll go through an actual case study that we did for one of our clients in Boston. Then I'll talk about my own case study, what I've experienced in terms of creating bigger deals, speaking gigs, etc. Those of you who are interested in doing bigger kind of business deals, see how we can do that on Meetup. I'll share on that. I'll share how you can get speaking gigs and probably a whole lot more. Then we'll do some Q&A, requests for coaching for your business. Now, again, if at any point you have a question, feel free to type it into the chat box so I can interact with you, okay? I may not answer right away, but I'll do my best to do so. Then there's also a super duper gift for you. It's a free training on 6 ways to make money, and we'll give you the link to get that as well. Okay, so let's get into this. So couple of things here. Who is this training for? It's for business owners, people with any kind of expertise, coaches, speakers, authors, bloggers, but we are not limited by that. We also work with real estate professionals, writers, people who are in the investment industry, financial industry, wealth, health. And again, not limited to this. We just started working with cryptocurrency expert, startup and tech people as well. So mostly service professionals. We do work with a couple of product producing businesses as well. So a couple of key things here. One of the things I promised to share with you is to give you some new thinking in terms of how to build an audience. And the key to building a business, not just building an audience, but the key to building a business is the first thing is to build an audience. Kind of gave it away already, duh. But yeah, the first thing is to build an audience. But the second thing is to engage your audience so that they can convert into paying clients or people who are committed to doing something with you. The fourth thing is very important. This is where most people ignore this, but this is where there's the most juice, possibility, and opportunities here. And I'll be sharing about that as well. And that's really the brunt of what I do now. You know, I spend less time building an audience or engaging an audience or converting an audience, because when I build collaborations, it becomes way easier to build an audience, engage an audience, and convert an audience. And especially if you build the right collaborations and the people that you like and enjoy working with most, then that will probably cut down a lot of time, give you a lot of more free time, probably increase your cash flow, reduce your expenses, and probably give the life that you dreamed of in terms of being an entrepreneur. And I'm not overstating this. And of course, I'm not understating it. I'm not trying to exaggerate this either. There's no guarantee there's work involved in doing this, but it's the kind of work that if you love what you do, you're going to enjoy being engaged with. Okay. So what's the opportunity today with Meetup? And what's the opportunity today to fulfill your vision in terms of audience growth? The first opportunity is that Meetup is growing. And Meetup is growing not just within the United States, but Meetup is growing across the world. So it's meetup.com, and I'll explain what meetup.com is here in a second, is pretty much present in, I think it's about 184 countries today out of a possible 190 total. It's got about 32 million people. And, there are more and more people who are coming on Meetup who are way more committed, way more ambitious, and way more vision-oriented. So it's definitely exciting times in Meetup. I've talked to my friends overseas in Singapore and Indonesia. I connected with meetups in Lagos, Nigeria. And, it's a vibrant global economy. And that's what's really pushing this forward. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I don't do business overseas necessarily, but you may want to think about that. Even if you think you're only licensed within California, for example, you may want to start thinking about it in a more global, bigger perspective. Okay. Meetup also makes money. And in the free report that I'm going to give you at the end, of this program, there'll be 6 different ways. And actually, I think the last count I counted about 15 different ways, but we're going to give you 6 at least ways that you can make money on Meetup. The opportunity is also to learn how to use Meetup correctly. A lot of people use it wrongly, and they, like I said before, they tend to miss out on opportunities. I'm seeing some questions already come in, and these are familiar questions for me, and I promise you I'll get to them, okay? They're good questions, good solid questions, and we have good solid answers for you as well, okay? Meetup is also gives a lot more range for innovation, and you'll see why as I go through my presentation here. The opportunities, the early adopter who gets on Meetup and I underline this, and does Meetup correctly, will start garnering a bigger audience. And that's pretty much what me and a couple other people have done in the Bay Area. We've pretty much cornered a big part of the market. For me, it's the non-tech small business community. It's pretty much dominated via Meetup and LinkedIn for that geographical area and for small business. So first adopters get an opportunity to really build this out, and especially when you see the opportunities of combining Meetup with LinkedIn marketing, it gets more interesting because nobody else is doing this as far as I can tell. So what is Meetup? Meetup is a platform started in New York by 2 gentlemen by the name of Scott Hefferman and Matt Meeker. I think there's another third founder in there as well. And but it started right after 9/11, 2001. They wanted to create an online platform for people who are feeling lost, who hadn't seen their own friends or family, wondering who they were, where they were, not who they were, but where they were, and wanted to connect with them. And so meetup.com came into being and enabled people to meet up. It has 32 million members. That number is about 6 months old. I think I strongly suspect it's a lot more than that by now. So there are 2 ways you can participate in Meetup. One is most of you are free users of Meetup. And that means you don't have to pay anything to join. You can search for the kind of groups that you're interested in, join those groups. So you may be interested in chess playing, you join a chess playing Meetup group. And then you can see what kind of events they have, when they have it, join those events. A lot of those events are free. Some of them are paid for or they incur a cost, but you can join it for free. The other way you can participate in Meetup is as an organizer, in which case you pay Meetup. It's about $89.94 for every 6 months for each account. And for each account, which has 1 email address associated with it, you can start up to 3 Meetup groups. So you want to pay attention here, okay? Because some people get confused about this. So for each account that's associated with 1 email address, you can set up 3 Meetup groups max. The 3 Meetup groups could be completely different interests. You could have one on business. You can have one on healthcare. You can have another one for political groups that you want to belong to. And when you have these Meetup groups, in each Meetup group, you can set up events that you want to invite people to. And then Meetup handles all the RSVPs. It also reaches out and promotes your Meetup groups and your events and helps you fill up those events. So in a nutshell, that is what Meetup does, okay? Okay, more to come here. So how do you make money on Meetup? Some of you may ask. Well, there are at least 6 ways to make money. Like I said, the free report you'll be getting if you opt in at the end, you'll get all 6 ways. But I'm going to share one standard model, which most of us use who are using Meetup correctly. And this is not the only way, but it's the standard model. The standard model is you have a Meetup group. And let's say that Meetup group is within a particular area of interest. Let's say in my case, it's mostly business. So business people who are in business to understand marketing and to grow their marketing, right? So it's a group that's centered around those kind of topics. I have an event that I schedule. And in that event, it's about an hour and a half long. But the first few minutes, typically 10 to 15 minutes, I spend doing some light networking. Then I start a presentation, educational presentation for the next 45 minutes or so. At the end of that presentation, I make an offer for my services, either paid for services or a free consultation that can be scheduled out in the future. And at that free consultation, or it could be a paid consultation too, by the way, but at that consultation that I set up one-on-one with each person who comes in and is interested in doing it, I can upsell them to my service or my product. And then the last 15 minutes of that session could be used for light networking and answering questions, etc. So it's a very standard model, but it works very well. Again, you have the event, you have a little bit of light networking, you do a presentation. At the end of the presentation, you make an offer either to a free session, a paid session, or your paid service. And that's how you can make money. Okay. So what is Meetup in initial steps? How does it work? There's an initial setup, there's a growth phase, and there's an explosive growth phase. Most people get to maybe the initial setup, but they don't go past that. The initial setup is pretty straightforward. You design your Meetup group based on what you wish to sell or what you wish to promote. So if you wish to promote, let's say you're a chiropractor, you can promote healthcare services. You can call it the Los Angeles Health and Chiropractic Breakthrough Group as an example. It's not the best example, but you get the idea. And then you set up your group and you design it, and you set up your first event that's educational in nature, and you have to go through an application process with Meetup. You have to apply to have your Meetup group approved. This is where a lot of people go wrong because they mistime the application. If you mistime the application for the wrong day, the announcement may go off the wrong day, and you may not get a very good build of people if your announcement goes out on a Sunday when nobody checks their email. But notwithstanding that, you design your Meetup group, then you send in an application. Once Meetup approves your application for the group, it announces your Meetup group. It tells everybody within a 50-mile radius, hey, there's this new group which appeals to your interest that you expressed on meetup.com. And everybody within a 50-mile radius gets that initial announcement about your Meetup group, which is very, very good. That's one of the best things you can ever do, is to get an initial launch like that. So that's why it's very important to make sure that that launch is done correctly. Okay. So again, if you have any questions about this, please ask, because this is really the critical part about building an audience on Meetup, especially. So there's an initial setup, there's the design, there's sending in the application, then Meetup approves you, announces your Meetup group, and then people come in, join your Meetup group, and they also see your events, and they RSVP for those events. So that's the initial setup. And what we advocate is you want to start with at least one group, but you don't want to stop at one group, because just having one group is not enough. You want to set up 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. Now, some of you may be going, oh my God, that seems like a lot of work. It's really not, because what happens is you can have 6 groups in a particular area, but only do 1 or 2 events a month, and have those 6 groups that may be set up, let's say, in different parts of your area. So if you're in the Bay Area, for example, you could have a San Jose business development group. You could have a Palo Alto business development group. They're all pretty much set up the same, but you're getting the people from different geographies to come pretty much to the same events. You may only have 1 or 2 events that you hold in San Jose, and attract people from Palo Alto, Los Altos, East Bay, etc., to come to the same events. So you don't have to do like more events just because you think you have more groups. In fact, you have more groups, you can channel all of them into 1 or 2 events per month. Okay. The other beautiful thing is recently what Meetup did very wisely is for every in-person event you do, and they do require to have at least 1 in-person event, you can do an online event, like a webinar, like what I'm doing with you today. So for every in-person event you do for a Meetup group, you can do a webinar. That opens up a huge amount of collaborative power that you can do with Meetup organizers who have similar audiences to you in different cities. Because if you can do webinars now, you are not limited geographically in your audience. Okay? So there's initial setup, there's a design, there's the application sent in, it's an announcement, and then you start building your groups in the local area. The second stage is when you start looking at doing more webinars and attracting collaborations and doing other strategies that I'll describe here pretty soon as well. And then the third stage is when you start doing collaborations. Now, the third stage happens almost organically for a lot of people, because when you build a large audience, which is what I experienced, even when I was getting into my first 500 people or first few hundred people on Meetup, I noticed that a lot of people were beginning to reach out to me and wanting to collaborate with me. And some of these collaborations were actually really worth my time and very profitable. But there's an art and science of picking the best kind of collaborators and making sure that these people are going to deliver for you. Okay. And so again, if you have any questions, make sure you ask at this point. I know we've already got 1 or 2 questions. Make sure you type those into the chat box. Okay. And then what we say is you want to make sure you pace yourself, because this might seem like a lot for some people, but some of you may be super ambitious, which is really good, and you want to start going really fast and big quickly, and that's perfectly, that can be perfectly done as well. Some of you may want to start in a more conservative way, and that's perfectly fine as well. The beautiful thing about how I've set this up is you can pace yourself however you wish to and still achieve the results that you want to in the time you want. So one other thing you want to know is that when you combine the power of Meetup with LinkedIn and Google, it gets very interesting. One thing a lot of people are surprised when I tell them this, but I get about 30% of my business from people who find me on Google when they're searching for services like mine. But the interesting thing is they find my Meetup group first, and then they find me for my service. So having a Meetup gives you added power in pushing you up in that Google searchability ladder. That makes sense. Now, when you add the LinkedIn component with that, and you start up groups on LinkedIn that also work with your Meetup groups as well, a simple way of doing that is if you have the same name on your LinkedIn group. You can create LinkedIn groups under your profile on LinkedIn. You have the same name as your Meetup group, then you are now cooking with a lot more gas, in your marketing, because people start noticing you more. They start seeing the cross-platforming that you're doing, and you're more visible now. Okay. When you do LinkedIn and Meetup, the other thing I'll give you is certainly extremely true for me in the last 5 years, I would say, is you get the best of both worlds. On LinkedIn, you get a lot of high-level opportunities, high-level connections. But high-level connections typically don't respond to you unless you can demonstrate that you have an audience. And what better way to demonstrate you have an audience than you can build it up quickly through Meetup? So when you combine the power of LinkedIn and Meetup, then you're really getting not just the mass audiences, but also high-level connectors who can help you get to much higher level in your business. So you gain credibility of both kinds of audiences. So I hope that makes sense. Okay. All right. More questions here. All right. And John Pryor, I promise you, I'll get to your question here pretty soon. Okay. I just want to make sure people get all this because well, people keep asking me these questions, so I want to make sure I cover it. And the people on the panel, if you have any points you want to add, just feel free to raise your hand and let me know, or just unmute yourself. So that there are roughly 3 steps to doing this on Meetup and LinkedIn. The first is you want to do some design and planning. And this is important because a big reason why a lot of people fail, not just in Meetup, but just in marketing period, is because they don't design and get clear what exactly they're going to sell and why it's compelling to their market. So what are they selling? Why is it compelling to your market? Who is your market? And these are basic questions that you want to answer, not just give a quick answer to. It should be well thought through, because the better your design, the better your marketing is going to be. It's just like if you don't really design your car very well, you're going to end up with a really bad car. It's the same thing with marketing. If you don't design it well, it's just not going to really work very well for you. But it just doesn't mean you once you design it, it's just going to work right away. You also got to be prepared to refine it and keep refining it until it gets better. So there's execution and refinement of your design, and then you make sure that you keep growing it. Because if you don't keep growing it or stretching yourself, it's easy to become comfortable, and then that's where businesses can fall under. Yeah, and that's a good question, Melissa. I'm going to answer those questions. They're really good questions. I'll make sure I answer those. Okay, I promise you I will. Okay. So design and planning. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but you'll get this in the free trainings as well. And if you want to reach out to me and do a conversation, if you're serious about doing all this work, feel free to do that after this session. Okay. So design and planning, your offer and branding must be good. You must be willing to at least refine it as you go along. It doesn't need to be perfect. And I emphasize this. A lot of you are trying to get it perfect before you get it going, but you want to get it out there so you can test it. And what better way to test it and get an audience and test it out so that you can make it perfect as you go along. You want to refine your primary offers as you go along. Sequence your offers into a sales funnel. And these are all things that we do in our mastermind as well. Be prepared to test and refine. That's very, very important. I know some of you, I'm already preaching to the choir. But some of you, I think, may not be aware of this, but you really want to test and refine. That's the nature of very, 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 very few people I know have gotten their marketing right the first time out. Almost never happens, Target markets, in the advantage of using Meetup is you can target certain markets. If you want to target healthcare people who are spiritually minded, people who are business minded, women, entrepreneurs, you can actually target these on Meetup, but you want to define who you want to target first. There's research to be done in the best geographical areas and the best niches to be done. You want to make sure you do the research by testing out the market too, but also talking to people. One other thing here is one of the things we do and we train our people to do is to find locations for cheap or free. I almost never pay for locations to do my events at. So if you're concerned about that, there are ways that you can find locations for cheap or free, okay? And in our global meetup mastermind, I know I'm maybe tooting my horn here, but it's the truth. We really have amassed a list of opportunities for people to get free locations, or at least affordable locations, certainly within the Bay Area. Certain ways that we train people how to do that, okay? Then you go into executions. When you create the events, you create your first meetup group with the event, and you send in the application, send up your second and third group. Again, you feed the same a few events. It doesn't mean you're doing more additional events every time you open up a group. You're feeding the same events with more groups, okay? Then you keep growing it by adding regional, national, global groups. Some people, especially out in the Bay Area or out in the Midwest, they like to do what's what we call a traveling show strategy, where they may start in a main town and then travel to each surrounding town and do meetups in each town. And so you start growing your audience even more, and more people get to know you that way. Okay. You can also start using a webinar strategy, so you're not limited geographically. You do collaborations. You got to master the art and science of doing this. It's not just about the mechanics of doing a collaboration. It's also how you relate as a business person, how you present yourself, how you create attractive options for people to come and collaborate with you. Okay, I think what I'm going to do before I go into the case studies, answer some of these questions. Okay, so thank you for being patient about this. I'm going to start with John Pryor here. And John's question is, I have a Meetup only 157 members, and only a few members attend. Very common issue, John. I look at other groups that have 2,000 or 3,000 members. They only get a few members attending. their meetup. I'll tell you why. There's so many reasons for this, John. One reason is they are targeting the wrong people. So they selected target markets that are too narrow, that have a small population, or it's too wide. When we select target markets, and you can select your target markets on your Meetup, you can actually select a combination of deep and wide markets. In fact, why don't I do this, John? Let's see if I can bring you in on here and have a quick conversation, because I think there may be some other questions I need to ask you. Let me see if I can find you. Okay, John, there you are. Hey, John, are you there? John Pryor. Here we go. John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey, John, tell me a little bit about your Meetup group. Where is it located, and what kind of Meetup group is it?
It's in Fremont, and it's a healthcare where it's actually stretching class. I teach stretching. It's an hour and a half long.
Okay.
I charge $10 for them to come in to stretch for an hour and a half, and it's a way to get them into my wellness center so they can see the other services that I provide.
Okay. Okay, got it.
That's basically it.
Okay. So how long have you had, when did you open up the Meetup group?
Oh, it's probably been at least a year.
Okay. All right. So it's been a year. 157 is pretty low. So my suspicion is either the target markets are incorrect. You may need a wider target market, like entrepreneurs, for example, will give you a wider market. The entrepreneurs has about, you'll get an outreach to about 22,000 groups around the world, but that tells you statistically that there are a lot more people engaged in that, see? And there's probably a wider percentage of entrepreneurs who will want to come to your event who are very interested in what you do. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, stretching, they'd be interested in stretching.
You'll be surprised at how many, but you're looking at this statistically, right? You know, there are a lot of entrepreneurs in the Bay Area, right?
Yes.
Now, a lot of these Bay Area entrepreneurs, I know the market here pretty well because I've been doing it for a long, long time. I've coached a lot of people and coached in different arenas, health included, okay? There's a significant portion of people who are interested in health in this area. And a lot of them are entrepreneurs. So you see, if you're not putting them as a target market, then you're probably missing out on quite a lot of people, you see, who you may not be hitting right away. So some people I notice when they start a healthcare Meetup group, which is an understandable mistake, they tend to select target markets like people interested in health. But there may only be 55 people in the Bay Area interested in health to list themselves on Meetup, whereas there could be 10,000 or more entrepreneurs in the Bay Area who, if you reached out to, will go, maybe, even if 5% of those are interested in health, you'll probably get a better build. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's part of it. The other thing could be you mistimed the application. This is a very common problem. A lot of people submit their applications, let's say on a Thursday to Meetup. And then what happens is you get announced on a Friday or Saturday when nobody opens up their emails. So nobody's really found out about your Meetup group existing. See what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
So there are quite a variety of reasons, but the biggest reason overall is it could be the copy. Now, I'm not going to put you to an embarrassment of looking through your Meetup group in front of me. Mostly, I'm exaggerating, but it's mostly because of time. I won't do that. But if we have a bit more time towards the end of the webinar, I might reach out back to you and we can look at your Meetup group and I can do a deeper dissection, okay, and see what else. But typically, it's also the messaging that you do in how you set up your copy. And if it's compelling enough, is it hitting your target markets? The other thing you may want to consider, and I don't know the answer to this completely, I'm not going to pretend like I have the right exact answer for you, but typically you may want to consider doing free events because you'll get more people coming in and then do an upsell at the back end. So you're probably going to make more money that way if you do it that way. And then try and get a free location so you don't have any upfront costs.
Right. Got it.
That's the way to do it. Okay, if you do it that way, you'll build a mass. Then a lot more people come to your Meetup group, And then Meetup starts getting nuts because it sees you being active. It wants to promote you more. I'm personifying Meetup, but you get the idea. The same thing happens with Google. Google will want to promote you as well. Okay. So, okay, just giving you a little bit there, but I hope that helps. Did that help you to at least see what you can do? Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Hey, you're very welcome. Okay, I'm gonna back there. Great question. I'll get to the rest of you pretty soon here as well, but I'm gonna talk about a case study. Cami Baker, she came to me, she was in New Hampshire, but she wanted to start a Meetup presence in Boston. And Boston's a very competitive place for events, not just for meetups, but for events. So what we did with her, she had a real estate training program and a business marketing training program. So to make a long story short, we worked with her and we got a wait list for her first event, just 75% over capacity in about 48 hours. 48 hours from the point in which Meetup started announcing the group. Okay. So how do we do this is always the question, right? The first thing we did with her was we studied the areas geographically to pick the best locations. And I said cities. I mean, obviously it's Boston, but we looked at the best locations within Boston to hold these events and have them be kind of like the area to focus on. Then we selected target markets that made sense. So we picked entrepreneurs, obviously. We also looked at real estate investors, but we found some pretty surprising things about the market, which enabled us to focus in a lot more and get better results. So there are ways to do that. Again, it depends on each target market, obviously, how you do the research, but I figured out a lot of how to do that over the years. And we managed to get a really good target market set for her. Then we refined her offer as well. And by her offer, I meant like what she's offering as her paid services. Because if you understand what your paid services are and you feel really good about your paid services, then you can work backwards from your paid services and define what you're going to offer at the end of the meetup. If it's a free session, your free session has to feed into what you're going to be paid for eventually, right? So that helps. If you define your offer or your paid services very well, then you can define your offer at your meetup very well. And then based on your offer at your meetup, you can design the event. And based on the event design, then you can design your meetup group. Most people don't do it this way. That's why they fail, because they have a disjointed meetup. They have a meetup about healthcare, but then they upsell into something else that has nothing to do with healthcare. Sometimes, or it may seem pretty obvious in hindsight, but not usually when you're designing it or trying to set up your meetup group. Then we sent in an application, I believe, for 5 groups within the Boston area. Again, more groups we start, the more Meetup gets excited, the more Google gets excited within 3 to 6 months as well. We fed only 1 or 2 events per month. Then we started expanding to webinars. And then what happened was she did a transition and decided that she was going to do a different kind of life. She fell in love, and she decided to hand off the meetup to another organizer who's actually now become my collaborator. That meetup, even though we had that hiccup, still continues to grow, and we have at least 4,000 members. I mean, even with all those hiccups, that's pretty really good. Okay. So that's one case study here, and of course she's made business out of that as well, and so has the collaborator who's working right now with those meetup groups. Okay, so that's a case study. We'll do another case study here pretty soon too. But what I want to do now is give a chance for my collaborators here, my collaborators, and also they are experts in their own right. And what I want to do now is give Ida Jones, one of the expert panel here, a chance to introduce us. Ida, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you, Sunil.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here with us tonight. My name is Ida Jones. I am a branding specialist, and I help business owners and entrepreneurs create a trustworthy brand by creating compelling imagery so you can speak to your ideal clients. I run the Air Hatchet Company, which is located in Emeryville. And I also host a meetup group in Emeryville, very long name, so brace yourselves. Bay Area Business Collaborative Marketing Leads Community. This is a group that I've been growing with Sunil since I joined the Global Meetup Mastermind a few months ago. It's been really great. We work with different kinds of experts from different industries, so it's really, really nice collaborating with them. And Sonia and I have also been discussing bringing my meetup group to Brazil.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Really great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, very nice.
Awesome to have you here.
I just want to mention one last thing. Also, Sunil's mentorship is quite a major benefit for the community. There's a lot of hand-holding, and we learn a lot from Sunil.
Awesome.
Especially in terms of defining your brand message. That has been major to me.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's really awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's really great. Mike Hayes, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Hayes, and I've been working with Sunil for some time, and I agree with Ida. His mentorship is the best, simply put. I can hardly scratch the surface of what the focus that I put my time and energy. It's about the new economy and how everything for small businesses changed. It's really a whole new playing field. And if you're struggling, it may be because you're kind of operating off the old rules of the new digital era. So I really created the Gig Economy Chamber of Commerce so that all entrepreneurs can learn all the new ways that, you know, people are shopping for services like those that we offer in 2018. There's new platforms and new connections in this new digital economy. And so I want to help people understand the new ways to get referrals, work together, collaborators like we all do in the group. And really, like for John Pryor, using multi-channel marketing, John. And we have a whole dream team marketing education all about multi-channel building to build an audience and market your products or services or your small business and to make money. And then we got a real big announcement that after I saw Omar Brioni's webinar, he invited me to be a guest. I thought, wow, this is perfect because I helped start a radio syndication company about 30 years ago, still going strong. And I thought we could actually create a whole national radio show all about the new economy and help people to figure out the best ways to introduce themselves and others and put it on national radio. And I'm talking to my radio syndication company. I think we're going to be on over 100 radio stations as soon as February. So very exciting time. And of course, always great to work with Sunil and Omar and Ida.
Awesome. Yeah. And so you guys want to pay attention. You know, this webinar series is actually going to be a consistent thing that we do at least twice a week, if not more often, twice a month, sorry, if not more often than that. So definitely pay attention, and it might give you an opportunity to promote yourself on the radio itself, your business. You come in and you ask questions, etc. Make sure that we can also promote you, okay? And John Pryor, feel free to also promote and list your meetup group on the chat box. We want to give you an opportunity to, you know, make sure that you can also promote your meetup group here, okay? And last but not least, Omar Briones, would you like to share?
Sure, yes. This is Omar Briones here. I am the CEO of Infopreneur Agency. And I want to give a quick shout out to all of you for being here and for the panelists who are on here. Thanks for being here. And Sunil is definitely the man. You guys, you definitely need to learn as much as you can from him when it comes to growing a huge audience. So like what I was going to, well, anyway, I'll just introduce myself since you want me to do that.
Yes.
So for the last 10 years, I've been an internet marketer. I've been consulting internet businesses and local businesses, helping them become total superstars online. And I've been very successful with that. Helping almost over 1,000 clients and teaching thousands of people through webinars. And one of the biggest problems that I've always found is that people, they usually struggle trying to find the right mentors and try to find the right systems that work for them. So I've only been able to teach so much. I'm a specialist in setting up online campaigns, but I have connections and people in my network who can do all kinds of things. Like Mike, he can get you on, radio, and Sunil can blow you up on, meetup groups. So what I've decided to do is create this organization, Infopreneur Agency, to bring all of my resources and my top mentors together and introduce them to everyone so that you all can have access to these resources and world-class mentors to help you to get everything you need to grow your business and really become a total superstar and a leader in your industry. So that's what I'm doing.
Well said. Well said. So you can see that, we've got like a superpowered group of people here. Ida can help you with your image and photo branding and also just your overall branding. Mike Hayes has got access to promoting you on radio, PR, video. Omar Briones has the entrepreneur and the internet marketing experience as well. So what I'd like to do is actually, I'm going to, and you guys who are in the panel, feel free to jump into with Melissa. I'm going to actually invite Melissa to join in here because she asked a really good question. Let me bring you in here, Melissa. Where did you go? There you are. Hey, Melissa, are you there?
Hello, hi, Sunil.
Hey, Melissa. Hey, tell me a little bit about your business and then we'll get to your question, okay? Wait.
I don't run my own business. I'm just a salaryman marketer, and so I saw your group, so I decided to join and thought this was an interesting subject to learn from. Panels of experts like yourself. So you mentioned that.
I gotta ask you, Melissa, are you from New Zealand by chance?
No, I'm not from New Zealand. I'm from Malaysia.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm from Singapore. So anyway, we won't.
Oh, cool. High five, neighbor.
High five. All right. Well, I don't live there anymore, but okay. So you've got a good question here, which is, and the question for everybody else here is, if I got you right, said people found you on Meetup and Google search results above your LinkedIn profile. Does that suggest that Meetup is that's absolutely SEO enabled? In fact, we've tracked this on our Google traffic. Maybe in a future event, we'll show you our Google traffic and how it bumped up. But if you do things right on Meetup, you can actually be found very well. I mean, we have had real estate professionals who attracted, there's a real estate professional I worked with in Santa Cruz who attracted an investor from the UK.
Cool.
Found him because he found his Meetup first and then found him. See, it was a cash-only deal, 1.5 million in 1 week, closed. So yeah, you can make money on Meetup if you do it right. Okay. And it's actually a really good question. I want to open it up to the panel as well. The panel, anything else you want to share about expanding your thinking around, promotions and, because, Google's the side effect on Meetup, right? But my case, maybe just really briefly, like what PR and radio can do for people if you combine it with Meetup. Maybe
sure.
A little bit.
Well, it's really kind of bigger than that. Nothing really supersedes the economy under which we all work as entrepreneurs, and the economy has changed. So I think one of the most important platforms that you can work on in the new economy, where it's very competitive because there's platforms that sell on price. And what Sunil has helped everyone understand, you don't want to sell on price, you want to sell on value and what you can offer. So that's one thing, is to understand how the new economy works and what are the right platforms. There's platforms where you want to buy services to help you sell your services. And there's other platforms like Meetup where you want to sell your services. But what we are all understanding is that it's a multi-channel marketing game, and that can include email marketing is really one of the foundations. And real quick, on the radio show, I want to bring in everyday authors who are just startups with some legendary authors. I've interviewed Oprah and Trump, but I've also interviewed people like Diane Mulcahy, author of the book The Gig Economy, or Dory Clark, best-selling author of The Entrepreneurial You. And so I want to take new authors and have them on the radio show side by side with legends.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you guys want to pay attention to that, especially Terry Schmidt and all the other people who have expertises in different areas. Mike Hayes can also help you set up speaking gigs. You definitely want to talk to Ida Jones, and feel free to reach out to these panelists too individually if you wish to. It's not a problem. And Omar can also help you with the Infopreneur and also the branding part of it as well.
Yeah, I just want to, can I point something out real quick?
Sure, of course.
Melissa? Yeah, from my opinion, I mean, that honestly, that was really good. What Mike has is the ability to get on radio. So that is huge. It's big time. And in addition to that, so whatever you do, even if you're not an entrepreneur, you can use your expertise and your story to add that in, to create what we call an online business. It's a digital business, selling your information or selling something that you can teach to lead people to the group. In your group, you're leading a group. In your group, you are an infopreneur. You're teaching something, and you're providing some kind of value in some way. So people are learning from the group, even if you're not teaching it directly, and even if you're not an entrepreneur. So if you can create a digital, like an ebook or an audio or something to lead them to the group, that would also get you more people.
Yeah. And so, what Mike Hayes and Omar and Ida too is pointing to is that this is much bigger than just being Meetup, or just about an audience. This is about expanding your channels, right, Ida?
So Neil, I just wanted to speak to John Pryor directly. Is that okay? Because I've been looking at his Meetup even before he put it up. I actually pulled it up, and yes, I think Sunil made a great point when he said that you were leaving out a huge part of the people that could be your target audience, entrepreneurs. I think people are really big on getting healthy and learning about wellness. And as I look at your tags and your metadata on your group, all of that is out. I think you could really target and really redefine or refine your message and find great collaborations for your Fremont groups, especially if you target people in the East Bay, because we're here like really big with wellness. And also Terry said that she is an intuitive life coach, and I find that to be a very big part of Meetup. That you can really exploit Meetup and help grow your audience.
Absolutely.
With coach and meeting people that would be interested in your services.
Yeah, good point about John Pryor's Meetups. It's. I mean, I've done so many of this analysis that can almost see what I know there are 6 or 7 categories of mistakes most people make. So thanks for checking that out. And you're right about Terry Schmidt. Let's bring Terry Schmidt here on and address her question. Give me a sec here. Well, technology works itself out. There you go, Terry. Hey, Terry, are you there?
Hi. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Terry. I can. Are you in the Bay Area, Terry?
I'm actually in Capitola.
You are in Capitola? My God, next door to me. My God, we should meet for coffee or something.
Definitely.
She has to come Thursday night.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
that?
Come to our networking event on Thursday night. You'll probably see it in our Meetup group, okay?
Oh, okay. I'll check that out.
And all of you are invited too, so you can see how we operate in doing that, okay? And set up networking events are really great, no matter what kind of field you're in. But Terry, to answer your question, yeah, you're in a great space. I mean, I've been a coach and a mentor. I don't call myself a coach anymore, by the way. You should probably upbrand yourself, okay? That's one of the first things I would do if I were working with you. not to disrespect you as a life coach, but actually increase the respect. You want to upbrand yourself.
Huh.
And that I would say applies to most of you out there. If you call yourself a fitness trainer, like, I mean, Ida Jones is probably a great example. She's not just a photographer. I mean, she's got a fantastic eye for branding. And
Right.
that's really her skill, you see. So you got to look at where your skill is and where the truth is, I'll just be brutally honest about it, where you'll gain more respect and shorten your sales cycle.
Right.
Because the moment you say you're a life coach, people are already bucketing you into like 500,000 people out there who don't know what they're talking about. I'm sure you're not in that bucket, you see. But
Right.
you got to upbrand yourself. So that's part of the work. It's too much outside the scope of this particular webinar to do that. But I would say that's the first thing that struck me. Okay.
Huh.
But that's like huge right there. But the other thing is, so to answer your question, yeah, I've obviously helped that niche of coaching and other niches of coaching, business coaching, health coaching. Heck, I've probably done all of those since 1991. But I'll tell you, Meetup is a great, if you do a combination of Meetup, LinkedIn, and Alignable, which is a new platform, then you're probably going to be immediately, when you start doing that, you're probably going to be above the 5% or so of coaches, and I'm being kind of kind about it. It's probably more like you're approaching the top 2% of coaches who are now ambitiously marketing and probably marketing in the right way.
Right.
Because you're targeting people, you're getting people in front of you, and you can also get people virtually. It's a great combination of both. Now, here's the thing, okay? About 80% currently of the people who come to your Meetup events are going to be tire kickers. They're just going to be checking things out. But 20% can give you, I just converted a $40,000 deal from someone who came to Meetup. I had 2 meetings with him. He wrote me a check on the second meeting, just right there on Christmas Day. I worked through the holidays. Okay? I'm not a big Christmas but if you build up your groups like that, then you can start converting like that. And then the remaining 80% you want to put into your email list and keep tickling them, because they will also convert. I've seen people convert after a year or 2 years of coming to my meetups.
Oh, wow.
So you got to create that kind of sales funnel, if that makes sense. Okay.
Right. Well, if I might interject here,
please.
I just started doing the coaching in April. That's when I finished my training, and I have had clients. But I know that, just like you were saying earlier, you got to get out there, you got to do some speaking, you got to get in front of people.
Right.
And I don't have the speaking training, but I'm actually meeting with a speaking coach, trainer tomorrow, and I'm going to talk to them and try to get some training in that area.
I'll just give you, just in the interest of time, I'll just give you one quick piece of advice, okay?
Sure.
You got to go where it's going to give you the most bang for your buck. I wouldn't, and I know the speaking guy is probably going to cuss me out right now. I wouldn't go so much for the speaking, because you come across pretty well already. If you didn't, I wouldn't tell you this, okay? But the main thing about meetups is you want to get related to people. It's not about so much being perfect in your speaking, etc. Now, of course, does that play a part? Of course it does. Helps you convert better, etc.
Sure.
But I'll tell you one thing hands down that worked for me when I first started becoming an expert. My coach told me, get an audience first. Find out what the market wants. What does the audience want? Train yourself in the art and science of listening so you can figure out what to sell to them. Best advice I ever got. So instead of trying to get it perfect, which is what my tendency was, I started getting out there and testing out the market. So I just wanted to offer that to you, because I can see you may be going in a direction that may not really feed you aggressively enough, if that makes sense. Okay. So just something to consider. Really quickly, you guys on the panel, anything else for Terry to help her out?
Real quick note on the speaking, that is actually one of the things that Sunil has been working with us.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so when he said that I'm a prime example of upbranding myself, one of the things that he's been mentoring me is how to speak to groups. So yes, Terry, that's one of the things that we do, and Sunny was really good about it, and his mentoring is quite amazing. He's very kind and very understanding, and helps you stay true to your message too, which is really important to me, at least. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you.
I think 2018 is going to be the year of the woman, the breakout year, really.
True.
The year you guys have all been waiting for. And, really, men like me have been hoping for. I've got a daughter, longtime wife, and I think where the woman, or where the world is the most distressed and has the most problems, is where women are the most suppressed. So we need the balance, and we're counting on you guys. Have 18, we're behind you.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I also want to comment on this. Terry, is it right?
Correct.
Terry, okay. I also, this was mentioned earlier to, I think, John, about comment about, you have a niche audience, right? A very niche audience, but
right.
Nowadays, and it's always been like this, but now it's even harder than ever to stand out. So really what you want to do today is become a broadcaster and not a narrowcaster. Okay.
Right.
So apply your intuitive life coaching to all niches, everyone. So
good point.
Target everyone.
Yeah, that's really brilliant, Omar. I didn't even think of that, but that's really brilliant. Yeah, you want to really, that's one form of upbranding yourself, is to see how you could apply your intuitive skills to business, for example, or realtors, for example, see?
Right.
And to do a meetup group for those kind of target markets and really special. We actually have a healing coach that's just specializing in realtors. It's fabulous.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And that came out of brainstorming. That's the power of dialogue. You see, a lot of us are just like, staying at home. Hey, listen, you may not be like that, Terry, but I am like that. I tend to be an introvert sometimes.
Yeah, I can be that way sometimes. I've got kind of sides to me.
Yeah. So, the power of this group, and you can already get a sense of this, our calls every week are like hopping calls. It's ideas, education, people are generous and very ambitious. There's nothing like ambitiousness and generosity combined. That's when you get the best of both worlds. When you're generous, but you're not really ambitious, it kind of loses some power,
Yeah, exactly.
When you have both, it kind of drives it pretty well.
Yeah, I've actually, just going back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, I as far as what I've been doing so far with marketing myself has been, the typical Instagram, Facebook, and then I started a podcast with a co-host friend of mine who she's also a coach, but just in a different niche, and so that's actually been really fun and kind of a cool thing that we've been doing. So that's been
awesome.
Yeah, been helpful.
Hey,
that's
can I say something real quick?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, then I'm gonna make it quick because I gotta get to Sarah's question and then.
Oh, okay. So just want to point this out. One of the other things I do is I create software and I help software companies launch their products. And we just came out with a new podcast hosting software that is way better than anything out there, better than Podbean, better than Libsyn, in a sense, in marketing. So if you want to use your podcast to make money, you got to use ours. It's called Podmeo, and I have the very exclusive. I can give you a very exclusive offer if you want to reach out to me. I can set you up even with a free trial if you want to try it out.
Oh, cool. And how do you spell that?
It's Podmeo, and you can see podmeo.com. But
when you type it in, Umar, type it into the chat box for her to get that. Oh boy, wow. Okay, I'm gonna.
Sorry, hang on just a second. I'll shut the dog.
Uh-oh. All right, I'm just going to point out real quick, podmeo.com is the site. I'm putting in the chat box, but don't go there. Don't purchase it from there. Just reach out to me because I can get you a way better deal than, going straight to the site. Okay? Just want to point that out.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's great. All right. I'm gonna reach out to Sarah now because I don't understand her question. Sarah, Queen. There you are. Sarah, are you there?
Hi.
Hey, what's your question, Sarah? Because I couldn't understand what your question. Would you have a question behind that? What you shared?
Yeah, well, my question is, I do have an experience with Meetup, but I used to be, I got somebody else's Meetup. This was
Okay.
like long time ago.
Yeah.
But
What's the question, Sarah?
but the question for now is, I'm an associate with Legal Shield and a few other companies now, and I got 2 people to come, but the minute they found out it was Legal Shield, they just left because they didn't actually read the instructions. And so so it was like, how can I?
So Sarah,
Yeah.
so here, I think your question is, how can you make it better?
Yeah.
What you want to do is you want to make sure it's educational, and I'm familiar with Legal Shield because I work with Avi Gingo. It's one of my primary clients.
Yeah.
I've been working with for 10 years. Okay?
Yeah.
What you want to do is make sure it's educational, so you don't talk about Legal Shield initially. Well, of course, you be transparent and share that your Legal Shield, but what you want to make the brunt of the event about is how to protect your business legally. How do you grow your business?
Okay.
How do you address those questions that people come to you for? See, when you educate them, then they start building trust in you, and they see, okay, you have some expertise here. Now tell me about Legal Shield. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you want to start with the branding of the meetup, not as a Legal Shield meetup, but really more like how to protect yourself legally, or how to build your business, or how to get benefits better, stuff like that. It requires a little bit more thinking up front and designing up front.
Well, I didn't do it that way. I mean, I didn't really say so much about Legal Shield. I did say very little bit, but not really. But mostly it's all about, for entrepreneurs, residual income, and stay at home if you want. But apparently they haven't been exactly reading anything. And then a lot of people said they will show up, and then they didn't.
Sarah, I just want to make sure I serve everyone here, so because we're over time. But I would venture to say that based on what you're telling me, you probably want to. There's a lot more design upfront that you'll have to do. Okay, so you want to really reframe the meetup group probably more for business education.
Okay.
And maybe even bring in some other speakers. Maybe collaborate with your up person and have them join in with you and bring in more people together. And that way you create more people coming in, and then make sure in your presentation that you present it as an educational service that's designed for people so that they get their questions answered. Okay, that's how I would. The other way to do it is create a networking only event and bring in more people that way. And then when they come in and network with you, you can actually engage more in conversational style selling, because conversational style selling is more interesting to people. See? So I wish I could spend more time with you.
Well, I do have another question about LinkedIn. I mean, I'm an all-star at LinkedIn, and I'm 500 and plus people who are connected. So how can I? You said that you can connect your meetup with LinkedIn and then the Google thing. So how do you get about talking about your business at LinkedIn?
I tell you what, you know what's going to answer that question is what I'm going to offer you as a free report. Okay.
Okay.
So if you go to, and all of you go to meetupmoneymakingsecrets.com. I typed it into the chat box. And it's here on the slide here as well. Okay. If you go there and opt in, then you get a series of reports. It may not come right away, but it'll come eventually to your inbox. You didn't want to overwhelm you with too much information. But those reports will tell you how you can work LinkedIn and your meetup strategy together. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one simple way. Okay. Once you, and here's the thing, Sarah, I can't give you a quick answer because there's no such thing as a quick answer in marketing. If there was, everybody would be a millionaire. It's not happening.
I wish if they were.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen. I'll just tell you right now, not going to happen. Can I repeat that? Not going to happen. Okay. You got to work at it consistently. It's never done in the first iteration. Okay. So now, having said that, the second thing is the suggestion is if you do your meetup group and you design it correctly and you get the right name for it, then the simple thing to do is create the same name for that meetup group that you had as a LinkedIn group. And then you invite people to join that LinkedIn group, and then you invite those people on LinkedIn to come to your meetup group. The advantage of having the same name on your LinkedIn group and your meetup group is now Google starts noticing it. It says there are two groups with the same name. Oh, and they're owned by Sarah. Oh, and she's working with Legal Shield. Okay, there's a lot more connections here to make. And so you're now creating more information about yourself online. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's one simple way, okay, just to give you a quick, but there are like tons of ways. And the way we do it very personally on LinkedIn, but when you do the cross-platforming, which is impossible to explain in the next 5 minutes, it grows tremendously, okay?
Well, I seem to attract a lot of people at LinkedIn. I get a few requests per day asking to connect with me. I don't know what I did, but I would like to stream business out of that instead of just getting connections.
I think the more I'm hearing you, the more I'm getting that you may have a lot of people coming to you, but what you may want to look at seriously designing is your conversion. The method of your conversion, it may not be that effective, you see. So I suggest you come on these meetings, come to our free meetup groups, and attend the trainings, and then we can share more. Okay, Sarah?
Okay, thank you so much.
Also, I offered you guys, and my expert panel here has also offered time, and you guys, please make sure you use their time as well. They're really great people, highly generous experts. Feel free to reach out to them. I also offered if you want to schedule a chat with me, you can schedule it at meetupchat.com. Okay, and then you can schedule a time with me too as well. And as Omar said, in my mastermind, you'll get connected with. The mastermind is not just a training program; it's designed for me to make sure that you collaborate with me, which means I expose you at least once to my 80,000 people, as long as you have good branding. But also, I will connect you to other connectors. And these are, just 3 of my connectors. And we have, between us, we have probably like 500, 600 connectors that we can introduce you to as well. Okay. So this is all about connections and collaboration. There's one thing you get out of today is the opportunity to collaborate and really up-level your business. That would be fantastic, So I hope this has been valuable to you all. And in the interest of time and respecting everybody's time, I'm going to end by saying thank you very much for this opportunity to share this with you. And on behalf of the panel and ourselves and myself, I just want to say thank you again for your questions. And feel free to reach out and connect with us, okay? So thank you all. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.